like to start with a basic question, and maybe Mark, I can start with you.
Sure.
When you think about academic ecosystem that is a college or a university, what
Yeah.
are some of the levers that faculty can be working on and pressing on if they're interested in advancing open inquiry?
Yeah, I think I've been toying around the idea of a parallel polis, which comes from the Czechoslovakian dissidents Václav Havel and Václav Benda. Basically, what their idea was during the communist rule. Not saying that we are living under communism. Let me be clear, but under communist rule, they were saying we have to set up an alternative set of institutions and individuals separate from the state, but eventually with the working together as a civil society, living in truth. Right, working together, a network that can then, over time, influence the state and be there, when it goes. And so, when I think of there's an ecosystem, as you said. So, Heterodox Academy is obviously a big part of it. FIRE, I think, is a big part of it. We are, the UNC Alumni Free Speech Association is another part that's big for us. And then within our university, we've done, of course, Heterodox Academy or our Heterodox Heals group. I think has been really big, really helpful to getting faculty to know each other. And we have been typically hosting dinners with them and just discussing, academic topics, a lot of controversial ones. And we have a listserv of about 80 professors as well that we discuss academic freedom issues on. We've started a committee for academic freedom and free expression, which was started by the chancellor. We have the UNC program for public discourse, which is another it's within the UNC, but let's say it's somewhat separate. And then now we're supposed to be getting, or we are getting, the School for Civic Life and Leadership, which is yet another institution. So I think you need an ecosystem, and you also need, especially in a public university where the dominant ideology is on the left, even though the people don't like it, but having someone on the outside that is open to free expression, constructive dialogue, and viewpoint diversity, pushing the university in that direction, I think, is helpful. So inside and outside, kind of working together. But that makes sense.
Absolutely, and of course, the one thing we've really learned from our campus communities is just how varied the landscape is, depending on which state you're in, if you're in public or private, what the local controversies are. Jennifer, you've been involved at Western Michigan in sort of creating a new community there. And I think starting to work with even some of the university administration as they think about the commitments that Western Michigan has. Can you tell us a little bit about that and sort of what's your perspective on that same question?
Sure. So we are working under this sort of umbrella advisory board called We Talk, and we've worked with people like Irshad Manji and others, Bridge USA. We attempted to bring Bridge USA, and that didn't work out quite so well. But other organizations from outside to come and partner with us at the university in order to promote viewpoint diversity and civil discourse on campus. It sort of started around the time of the 2000. It was sort of in anticipation of the 2020 election and how we might be able to promote civil discourse on campus and prevent a lot of unrest. Of course, then COVID got involved and everything was weird anyway, and so it wasn't as big of an issue as we were anticipating. But we've continued to do what we can to provide and promote programming on campus. And our biggest challenge, I think, has been convincing students to get involved. And I think that's a challenge for everyone on every campus. Students are very focused on what they need to get done in order to get out of here. And they're not that interested in what they can do to promote these ideals and values on campus. When they are passionate about something, they don't necessarily feel like they have time to hear the other side. So that's the one challenge that we're facing right now. Ostensibly, the administration on our campus is very pro free speech. They've certainly voiced that publicly, that they're in favor of viewpoint diversity and open inquiry. And We Talk was founded initially by our vice president for government relations. And so we do have that very strong voice on the administration working with us. So, you know, we've had our successes and our failures, and we just keep going.
Thank you so much. So, Dr. Artis, you have the perspective of a college president and probably have a little bit different view out your window than many of the professors who are on our event today. What is your take on this whole phenomenon of official statements and pronouncements? And is there a piece of this conversation that you'd sort of like to add to, because maybe it's been missing so far?
You know, I think I'm glad you used the word perspective. We have a campaign on our campus called Perspectives, incidentally, that is designed to stimulate both students, staff, and faculty, all constituencies really, to feel free to express their unique perspectives. I think statements and pronouncements are of limited value. We all sign off on support statements on a whole host of things, right? Most recently, you're hearing things relative to student financial aid. We've all signed on saying we're going to be more clear in promoting student financial aid and the availability of resources. That's just a statement, right? Unless the financial aid office is committed to it, it doesn't really happen. And so while I have signed on to a whole host of things, Citizens and Scholars is the most recent initiative I'm a part of with 12 other college and university presidents from across the country, where we have stood up and said very clearly we support the value of free speech on our campuses, and that we're going to work diligently to ensure that it, in fact, exists, lives, and breathes on our campuses. And those institutions are all very, very diverse. I think leadership does start from the top, and that's not a criticism of anyone else. And it's not to suggest that our positions are more important than anybody else. But I think in order for faculty to feel free, in order for students to feel free, the president's got to say something. The president has to articulate with clarity that he or she supports the free expression of ideas on a college campus, because if we cannot do that on a college campus, we cannot do that anywhere. I think these are really the best places. These are the incubators of freedom, if you will. Yes, they have historically been bending, and I would suggest that our private institutions aren't much different in terms of leaning a bit left, but that is all the more reason that the president and those in leadership positions have to be clear in articulating the value of all perspectives, left, right, center. We go to great lengths at our institution, simple things like making sure the TVs in the student lounges reference a diversity. So Fox is on one and CNN is on another, right? I mean, we want to make sure. Now, whether you want to hear it or see it is a horse of different color. You can choose your side of the room. But we as an institution have to make clear that we value all opinions, perspectives, and ideas. And I think this leading from the top piece is critically important, and it's far more than a simple statement. I think statements are of very limited value in this conversation.
Thank you. And if you can please talk to the people who run the airports about the television issue, that would be great.
I'm on
it.
I think that I want to bring in all the panelists to sort of open up the conversation, but I guess just one follow-up to you, Roslyn. I sometimes hear university presidents sounding like they're in an improv class, because it's always yes and. It's, we believe in free speech and open inquiry and academic freedom, and, you know, choose your synonyms, and also, you know, the right of, you know, personal dignity or social justice or whatever it may be. Not to say that free speech and different kinds of freedom are incompatible with other values, but one sometimes gets the sense that the rub is in how you trade those off, or how you try to honor both at the same time. Have you encountered that? Have you seen that in the dialogue? I know you follow this issue closely.
I do, and I think that is perhaps an accurate statement. I think that we try to be politically correct. We try to be careful in articulating that we value free speech, except when. Except when is a very slippery slope. And I think it is not as difficult as we make it. I think human dignity is a slippery concept. What offends me may not offend you. I do think we have to thicken up our skin a little bit on dealing with things that may be uncomfortable. I've often been heard to say the brain is a muscle. We need to work that muscle. And sometimes it burns a little bit, just like it does if you go to a gym and you're working your glutes, right? Both are a pain in the ass. And you have to be willing to push through and do the work. And so I think that we use the and almost as an excuse sometimes, as opposed to really to amplifying our position. Free speech, unless it causes not harm, not intellectual harm, but we provide physical safety, right? We say to our students, you are safe on this campus. We will do everything to ensure your physical safety, but your intellectual safety is in great danger here. We want to push you to think outside the box and to use that muscle that is your brain.